Good morning, evening, afternoon, no matter what time of day it is for you. Welcome to Collider Dailies. I'm John Algis, and joining me is,
Maggie, love it.
we should work on getting that like distance between when I say is and you saying your name down
I'll just start
shorter.
saying Maggie, love it as soon as like the Collider Dailies rolls. I'll just be like, Maggie, love it.
Okay, don't like speak over me to like that degree, but like let's work on this, Maggie. It's been over 50 episodes. We can do this. I think that's our big thing to work on
Well,
there.
I'm very proud of you this week. You remember that I'm not always your co-host on these shows, so very
That
proud
is
of
true.
you.
Although that being said, have I ever have I ever hosted an episode where it wasn't you? Because I've been on episodes where Perry was the host,
This is true.
but I wasn't hosting.
This is true.
So I am always joined by you when I'm hosting.
This is
So there you
true.
go. This is like the dumbest way to open an episode ever. Uh, Today we're going to be talking about a whole slew of things. Maggie has some like action figures to show us. We're going to talk about Echo coming early and when you can watch that. But before that, let's talk about the box office for the weekend because yeah, movies came out and money was made by studios at some point. So this weekend was, of course, the premiere of Wonka, which is currently the box office leader out of the weekend, with a total of 39 million domestic and 151 million worldwide. That's pretty good considering that a lot of films this year have been kind of, down on their opening weekends. 150 million is nothing to sneeze at. The rest of the box office this weekend, we had, of course, the Hunger Games Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I always flip them. Like I want to say Snakes and Songbirds, but that's wrong. That movie is at number two, still going pretty strong. Number three is The Boy and the Heron. Number four, Godzilla minus one, who is just absolutely chugging along. Godzilla minus one is putting up some crazy numbers for a foreign film. We don't normally see that like that. And then, of course, rounding it out in our top five, we have Trolls Band Together, which I'll be honest, I didn't realize was still in theaters.
Me neither.
Uh, Maggie, which of these movies have you seen? Did you go see Wonka? Did you like
I don't need to go see
contribute to
things
that
while I
box
am
office?
getting critic screenings, so they are all
Well,
in a
okay,
stack by
fair.
my computer. Yes. Of those, I have seen The Boy and the Heron, which was excellent.
Hmm.
And
Are you at all surprised by Wonka being able to pull in like a rather respectable
I am.
domestic and international pull?
I am. I think because of some of the stuff that was swirling around this weekend about how studios have realized that they have to trick people into watching musicals. Um,
Yeah, I was going to
Apparently,
talk
their
about that.
tactic might have been accurate because I think a lot of people didn't realize that Wonka was a musical until they sat down and people started singing at them. So once you have like a captive audience, it's bad form to get up and leave. Um, so I mean, while I don't think we need another Wonka remake, I'm happy that it's doing well because I would like to see more musicals continue to happen as a musical theater girly. So I'm not going to complain.
Let's talk about that for a second. The whole like them not marketing musicals as musicals, because they've done this for a while. Like even to the point of going back to the original Frozen, they didn't market that as a musical either, which that's a Disney movie, so that's insane to me.
Yeah.
But this movie was a musical. We have Mean Girls coming out in January.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Coming out in January. That's a musical. It's an adaptation of the Broadway play. But if you watch the trailers for that, you wouldn't think for a second that it was a musical. In fact, the only hint at it being a musical in any of the marketing that I can see is in the A on the logo. There's a music note,
Yeah.
and that's it. Why do you think that Hollywood is so adverse to telling people that they're going into a musical?
I
Another
don't.
prime example that actually hit me was Rocket Man a few years back.
Yeah.
I went into that film expecting a biopic. I didn't know it was going to be a musical. I mean, it's about Elton John, so I suppose I probably should have assumed that it was going to be. But that caught me off guard. Like this is a trend that's been going for a while. Any
Um,
thoughts on
I'm
why?
gonna say I don't think that it's Hollywood. I think that it is consumer demand. And somewhere along the way, they realized if they package a movie as not a musical to their audience, they're going to trick people into seeing it, and then they might actually enjoy it and like buy the soundtrack and things like that. It seems like there's been a trend, like back in the day, musical movies were like all the rage, and then it kind of fell out of fashion. And I think that this is part of them wanting to continue to do musicals, but realizing that marketing has to hide the musical aspect. I don't think so much that it's Hollywood like, oh, we're going to trick everybody, but that they've realized that audiences don't necessarily want musicals until the musical is happening to them. It's kind of like doing a live, oh God, what is it called? Um, like the pop-up musicals when people just start singing at you at the mall. What?
Like oh,
Oh my God.
it's really annoying when it happens.
Yes.
Uh,
Um,
I
it
know
would,
what I know what
it would
you're
be
talking about.
really
I'm
great if the
spacing.
voice of God could just come in and tell us the word that we're thinking of.
Uh,
God, what is it called?
Flash mob.
Flash mob.
Yeah, flash mob. That's what it was. Uh, yeah, it's God.
Are you there,
What
God?
just
It's me,
happened?
Margaret.
Okay, for a second I thought I was dead there. Uh, yes, it is a flash mob. Yeah, or like the cinematic equivalent of a Rickroll, where like you're led to believe that it's something that you're gonna get something else entirely.
Yeah.
It uh but that just kind of begs the question to me, if they think that audiences don't want musicals, why are they making musicals at all?
Because they end up doing well. It's like you need to trick your audience into enjoying something. I don't understand what it is when there are so many musical theater kids. We're out here, we would love to see more musicals. Like I was saying before the show even like started, I went and bought a bunch of like old musical vinyls this weekend because I love musicals. So people love musicals. I just think that they've been burnt by bad musicals,
Yeah.
like bad musical adaptations and stuff for movies, that maybe that's where there's like some sort of consumer hesitancy, and maybe we're slowly seeing like the return of musicals. I would love that. We need more musicals. We need more original musical movies and less remakes. Listen to me, Hollywood.
Yeah, because Hollywood's listening to Collider Dailies. Uh,
You don't know.
I mean, they probably are. Mr. Hollywood, are you watching?
It's
Um,
Hollywood.
Jeremy Miller points out West Side Story and In the Heights underperformed, so I can understand a little bit of why studios are hesitant. Look,
And they went all in on those being musicals. There was
yeah,
no, masking that.
I don't know. It's one of those weird, like almost enigmas in the movie business where it's like they very clearly know that audiences don't want musicals, but they feel the need to keep doing it. I don't
I
know.
mean, logically speaking, they see that people will spend buku bucks to go see musicals on stage in New York, on Broadway, and on the West End. So they know that it is a lucrative venture, that people do enjoy musicals, that they will spend a lot of money to see musicals. But that's a very small audience versus the much wider audience that is going to see movies in theaters. So I think that this is them trying to figure out how they can tap into that audience. I mean, we just saw the Waitress like live recording thing that they did do really well. There was a lot of people tweeting that like their audiences at their like local theaters was like completely booked because going to see a musical is like a very privileged thing. We've talked about this before on dailies. And so I think that like studios understand that there is a demand for it. They just have to figure out how to package it to a much wider audience. And I hope that Wonka and maybe even Mean Girls will be like the beginning of that, and seeing like a renaissance of musical movies, because I love them so much.
That being said, I want to meet a person who went and saw Wonka not knowing it was a musical and who was genuinely surprised
There's a lot of
to
people
find
on
out that it was a
Letterbox.
musical.
There's a lot of people on Letterbox that are saying that. So
Did they watch the original Wonka?
I mean, I
Do
will
they
say that
know the
there's a lot
style
of
of
people.
movie?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who really only saw like the Johnny Depp Wonka. Like that was very big, especially for my like generation. I've of course seen the original Wonka because I'm not sheltered. But like some people just don't, or they don't realize, like remember, sometimes your memory can deceive you. But apparently Timothy Chalamet can sing. I'm not surprised because Timmy, but
Was this one of those musicals where they live sang it, or was it pre-recorded?
I haven't watched any featurettes for it. I mean, they always do both. Like you sing when you're doing
Well,
it,
yeah.
and then they ADR it. So I don't know. Haven't seen
Hmm.
any featurettes on it.
I don't know. T and J Omaha says, I have a hard time believing studios think no one wants to see movie musicals if they keep greenlighting them. That just doesn't make sense, especially when they're hurting so badly financially right now. I don't know if necessarily saying that they're hurting badly financially right now is necessarily true, but the rest of that statement is. It is. I don't know. It as I said, it's a weird enigma that I just don't. I don't have a handle
Movie
on.
musicals are as old as Hollywood itself.
Well, yeah,
So I mean,
one
it's
of
like
the
the
first
very
genres is
backbone.
musicals.
Yeah.
As soon as we had sound, we had musicals.
They're like, let's start singing, guys. We got audio. Let's
Like
go.
immediately, right out the gate. We can do sound. Show tunes. Let's go. Yeah, but you know what doesn't have any musical numbers? I'm assuming. I don't know. I haven't watched it yet. Echo.
I mean, hey, Hawkeye had a musical number.
That's true. Hawkeye did have a musical number. Maybe Echo will have. Maybe Echo will have an episode that takes place entirely on Broadway, so that we can see the entirety of the Rogers musical.
There you go. I have a feeling it's a kind of different vibe than Hawkeye, so maybe not.
It definitely seems it. Yeah, so we're gonna be talking about Echo right now. I hope that someone gets the joke of the title of this segment. It's hard to like express via text that something is reverberating.
If you have to explain it, it's not as funny as you think.
Well, you know what? I wrote the show notes dead tired, so you're gonna have to excuse me a little bit here. Anyways,
You're
so yes,
excused.
Echo. Uh, Echo is being released early on Disney Plus. Kind of. It's being released a day early. Uh, you'll be able to watch all 5 episodes of Echo on January 9th, which is a day sooner than it was going to be, and it will be available during the prime time slot, meaning that if you are at 6 p.m. Pacific or 9 p.m. Eastern, you'll be able to catch all of the episodes, which I think is a nice change of pace from how Disney Plus has been doing shows so far. I gotta say, when they first started doing the like weekly episode releases, I was like, "This is cool. I'm all for it." Now that that's all they've been doing, just let me have the episodes to binge, please. Like, just I ain't got the time for all this waiting, personally. But Maggie, what's your take on this? Can you think of how this might affect maybe the viewership of Echo, considering that this seems like a series that not a lot of people are super hyped about.
Yeah, I am not sure like 100% how this show is going to perform, which is very unfortunate since there's like so much really important representation in the series. I haven't been super happy with the way that Disney seems to kind of be dumping it in January, which is like a weird time right after the holidays, that they're shifting the model for it, that this is the show they're choosing to like launch pad this new like more mature gritty like whatever label that they've labeled it as, and dropping it all at once. I'm afraid that that sets a bad precedent for them going forward with other shows that maybe have smaller audiences. There's no real way for it to gain an audience because there's no word of mouth week to week the way that other shows have benefited from. So I'm not super thrilled about this. While I like the idea of having this like grittier label, I think that's a really neat idea for them because that is something that I've obviously talked about on dailies, wanting a much more mature, world of Marvel. I think that this was an unfortunate show for them to choose to launch pad that. Especially since it's kind of felt like a long time coming for it. There's obviously a lot of really interesting plot stuff that's probably going to happen with like Kingpin and stuff like that. So I'm, cautiously optimistic, but I'm not happy that this is the show that they've chosen to do the binge model when it's very much not been a binge model thing up until this point.
So you're concerned that this is them sort of pseudo sweeping it under the rug?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of been the vibe that everyone has gotten from the repeated like release date changes for the series. Some of the rumors about like reshooting, the way that it's been marketed, the way that everything has kind of been like pushed out feels like something they're just dropping and running. Um, and the same thing I'm seeing happen potentially with like Ironheart. Seems like that's kind of getting the same treatment, and it just is weird. If you want it to do this, why didn't you drop Loki as a binge model? It just doesn't look super great.
I'm just my main concern with it is because like a little while back we got the news that uh Disney and Marvel are going to be changing up the way that they're producing these series,
Mhm.
that they weren't happy with Daredevil. I wonder if this is one of those things where they were not happy with Echo either, but it was already so far along
Yeah,
that they're just like, we might as well just drop it, but then like ignore it and move on.
yeah,
Um, so I wonder if this is like just a leftover from the old model that just continued to not work well. Um, that is
yeah,
like my main concern with it. Uh, that being said, I also like Echo has always seemed like just a weird series to go with to
yeah,
me, just because like, and I know some people have said this before, but this very much feels like a series that nobody was really asking for. Like the Echo character is cool and all, but I don't know about
yeah.
having her carry an entire show.
So this is something I think that they fumbled the bag on, and I think that it is really indicative of the issues that Disney's been having with like their Marvel series. If you had done like 2 seasons of Hawkeye that came out like at a regular interval, like you had, a 1 year, gap in between, or 6 months, like however, whatever model worked for their release schedule. If you then had the backdoor pilot happen in season 2, then you have more emotional investment in the character because you've got like a season and a half or 2 seasons if you like set it up in like the penultimate episode of season 2 or something. And then you do the spinoff, which is very much the way that Daredevil did on Netflix. You had Daredevil introducing Punisher, Punisher spinoff, Punisher series. That works really well. Jessica Jones. I mean, those kind of things where they get you invested and then they do the spinoff. And it felt like Disney was like, let's do a spinoff. Like they didn't wait to see where that emotional investment is or wait for the story to really benefit from having a spinoff. It's very much seemed like Marvel wants everything all at once and doesn't really know how to necessarily lay out the pieces, which has kind of been the history of Marvel when they get really excited about the next thing and they forget about the thing they're working on right now, and then it like ends up not necessarily
Well,
benefiting anybody.
at least more recent Marvel, because
Yeah,
you
they
know
did well in the beginning. I will say that,
there
like the first
there was
couple
a
of
period of
years.
time where like we were saying basically this exact same statement about DC.
Yeah,
And we
yeah,
were saying like DC gets overly excited and they're cramming all this stuff out way too fast. They should do it like Marvel used to be what we used to say.
yeah.
And now it very much is Marvel's just throwing everything out and not giving anything any time to breathe or to really get set up
Mhm.
properly. Um
Which is sad because there's so many great things that are happening in these shows, but they're never really given the time to mature and,
well, and the
find
problem
that audience.
one of the biggest problems with Marvel just in general, and I know we're going kind of off on a tangent here a little bit, but we're going to talk about it. Like, why not? Is the fact that everything that Marvel seems to be doing, like basically since Endgame, is just we're doing this to get us to the next thing. And
Mhm.
then when they get to that next thing, they're like, okay, cool, this is what we set up, but we're using it to set up something else.
Yeah.
Nothing is allowed to be a resolution. Everything is just a stepping stone to the next thing, and that's not effective. That's
Yeah.
not all that is that's just bad storytelling
Mhm.
that is coasting on the promise of a better story down the line.
Yeah, it makes me really, I mean, to that same point, like that's why I'm really nervous about the Coven of Chaos, Agatha all along, whatever the show is going to be called, because that felt like a spinoff that they were just like, oh, everybody liked this one gimmick that we had in WandaVision, so let's make an entire series around the one gimmick. but for what? Like, what's the end game? What are you like actually going towards here? What is this setting up? And that's another show that I'm like, I love everybody who's in it. I'm very excited. I love witches. I love weird stuff. Like it seems like something. I love Aubrey Plaza and Catherine Hahn, but like, why? Why does this exist except for a reaction to something that was trending on Twitter for 2 days? And will it matter when it comes out? Because it's been
Yeah.
so long since WandaVision. I mean, that was the
It used
start of the pandemic.
it used to be that when Marvel announced that they were doing something, even if I knew nothing about that particular project, I could at least, as a comic book fan, look at what characters or like
Mhm.
what group we know is going to be involved, and I would look at it and go, okay, I kind of see where they're going. Like I
Yeah,
can kind of see a little bit of like shades of an idea. Now, when they announce, Echo or Agatha Coven of Chaos or whatever the hell else, I'm just like, I don't see how these are fitting other than from a business standpoint.
yeah,
Like I'm seeing a business play, I'm not seeing a narrative play.
yeah. Everything seems very reactionary rather than like actually being connected to the story. Like there's no real through line. It kind of feels like, I mean, WandaVision, going back to that, is like a really good example of that because WandaVision did not match up with Multiverse of Madness, the story
Yeah,
that was
no.
being told there. And it was because nobody was talking to each other. They had two things and there was no actual communication. So you had a really inconsistent story. And then that's supposed to push us
It very
somewhere.
much that situation very much felt like there needed to be another season of WandaVision before
100%.
Multiverse of Madness. Because
100%.
she ended very apologetic about the bad stuff that she did. Then we saw her messing with the Darkhold a little bit,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden she's like super batty, like without we're missing that bridging piece.
Yeah. Because they were ready to jump to what the next story was and they weren't really focused on the connective tissue. They need time to let, this is something I'm really big about with storytelling, is like you need time for your characters and your audience to breathe. Like you need moments in between those, and I feel like a lot of those moments are cut for time, um
Yeah.
unfortunately. So
Mike K asks, "Do you think it's too late for Marvel to go back to its Phase 1/Phase 2
no.
model?" I don't think it's too late, but I think it's rapidly approaching too late
Yeah.
because they are very rapidly destroying viewer trust.
Yep.
They are very rapidly killing any hype by putting out subpar stuff. And like, don't get me wrong, not everything that they're putting out is subpar. I liked the Marvels. I thought that it was good. I feel like there were problems with it, and I feel like one of the major problems was I felt like it was rushing to get to the mid-credit scene. But like they're capable of doing good stuff, and they are in a situation where if they realize that they are hurtling towards
Yeah.
the edge of the cliff, they can correct. They have time.
Yeah, I think if they
But
keep running straight to Kang Dynasty or whatever that becomes, it's not looking like it's Kang Dynasty, but whatever that is, if they rush towards that, I think that's the point of no return because I think there's a lot of stuff that they need to do in the interim to get to the story points that would come from something like King Dynasty. That's like an end game level kind of like
yeah.
thing. Then there's
Well,
no
like
end game level build up.
here's the thing. So we're in the middle of phase 5, which
Mhm.
when comparing us to the Infinity Saga, that puts us in the middle of phase 2. During phase 2 of the Infinity Saga, we had a general idea of where we were going. Like I knew, okay, this is where we're at. We're going to Infinity War. Well, at
Mhm.
the time I was like we're going to Infinity Gauntlet because that's what it was called. Like I knew that that's where we were headed. We're going to Thanos, we're going to the stones, there's going to be the snap. We kind of like know the general vibe of where we're going. I know that Secret Wars is on the horizon.
Mhm.
I am missing so many things that need to happen before that story makes sense.
Yeah, especially since there's so many key players from Secret Wars that are no longer key players. So
Yeah.
like who's stepping into those roles? There's nobody. Like it's weird. I don't fully understand
I
what's
mean,
happening.
and I can kind of see
You can fudge some of it. Like you
you
can
can
get
fudge
around some
something
stuff.
like we were talking about when the Loki finale came out. He becomes like the god of stories or like whatever, and I'm
Yeah,
like, okay,
he's a
he's
trick.
kind of he could theoretically fill the Beyonder role,
Yeah.
a little bit, but you would
Yeah.
have to like really fudge it and like really mess with it to get it to work.
Yeah.
He could also kind of, I guess, fill the Molecule Man role from 2015, but it still is like very
Oh.
bizarre.
Yeah, I mean,
It
that would take some serious leaps.
it would you would really 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 have to
Yeah.
like twist it and make it.
You have to
You would
bend those
basically
timelines a little bit.
you would basically just have to, like, here's the thing. I feel like they're at the point where right now, from what I can see, it looks like the Secret Wars that we're going to get is going to be nothing like the Secret Wars story, which is fine, but
Yeah.
then why even announce it? It just doesn't make it. I don't know. Marvel is, and I know that we've
Talked about Marvel this whole
we've had this rant a
We
bunch of
have.
times on the
We're
show.
very consistent. We should just
I just
rebrand Mondays like Marvelous Mondays, and we just complain about Marvel.
We should do that. That actually sounds great. Uh Here's the thing. I love the MCU. When I was working on CBR, when I was working on Screen Rant, I was always on the MCU beat. And one of those things where you make videos every single day about Marvel for years, most people would burn out. I did not burn out. Like, I am here for this franchise. I am here for these films. I don't want them to make mistakes. I don't want them to fall apart. So my criticism and my cynicism is from a place of love.
Yeah. Well, what's so funny for me is that I've been a Marvel cynic for a very long time, and it's very weird to now exist in a universe where I am not an outlier and that my feelings are not like fringe feelings, that I am very much in line with a lot of people now. And it's that for me has been very weird because I've always had very controversial feelings about Marvel and DC. And the fact that everything's lining up and everyone agrees with some of my points now, I'm just like, well, that's different. This is new.
I've always been a DC apologist. I've always
I've always been
wanted
a DC.
DC to be
I'll always be
better.
a DC apologist. You can't take that away from me.
I've always wanted DC to be good. And I've always been like, well, if they just like do this and maybe they'll do this in the future and it'll be good. And then it's just like, no,
I
they have
still
some
remain
shining.
hopeful that James Gunn can pull something off. So we'll see.
I don't know. At this point, I'm kind of over cinematic universes just in general.
I would
I'm
just like
starting to
I
I'm
would just
starting to
like
burn.
stories. Just give me like character driven, story driven, like superhero movies that are not connected or setting up the next story, and I will be so happy because I love superhero stories. But I think that what's happened with both franchises is they're so focused on connectivity that they've forgotten like the actual story and what we care about and what resonates with us, unfortunately.
Tell good stories, and if they connect, great. If they don't, that's fine too.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that like phase 1, those movies, they needed a tie-in comic to tie them all together. Otherwise they were just kind of like, yeah, there's like small little cameos and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, because we had the Fury's Big Week tie-in comic
Yeah.
that
I forgot about
connected
that.
all of them.
Yeah.
But otherwise it was like, okay, you saw Thor's hammer at the end of Iron Man 2. Okay, that was the only connective thing that you had.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
miss
know.
those days.
Anyways,
I rewatched
anyways,
Captain America Civil War this weekend because it was December 16th.
it was.
So I miss
Should
those days.
I'll pull out a little red book and I'll start saying like warehouse, homecoming. I don't remember all
Very
the words.
nice.
I used to. Uh, anyways, let's move on to the next thing before this just turns
Talking
into an
about
hour-long rant.
franchises.
Let's just, yeah, sure. Maggie, you have some stuff to show us.
I do. I got a very fun package. These are the first ever package samples of the action figures for Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon.
Woo!
I get to unbox them on camera. And if I am correct, these will be
Now, I didn't even know they were getting figures.
they are. So this is Dunabay's Nemesis and Anthony Hopkins' Jimmy, which is like a robot-ish looking character. So they are.
We're gonna have to get a longer look at some of these
I
once you're
know.
done pulling them all out.
It's so hard. So these are the first two. These are series 1 figures. See if you can get both of them. And let me open up Nemesis. That sounds like a fun name to open up and see how they are. So these are supposed to be like digitally sculpted and fully articulated, which
So like he's like scanned the actor and then okay.
See if I have something to cut what I do here. And these are coming out, I believe, in January on the Diamond Select Toys website. They are available for pre-order right now. And considering how much like is in this package and how like fantastically packaged they are, I was really impressed with what the prices are. So they're only $24.99, so like $25.
I will say I appreciate, and it's becoming less and less common these days, toy packages that are actually open so you can see the individual figure.
I love it. I was so happy.
Because so much, like a lot of the bigger companies are starting to close the boxes off.
The Black
and
Series figures?
It's a quality assurance thing because they don't want to do like they want you to buy the figure before you see it, so you're not like looking at the figure and pulling the one with better paint or like whatever. So I appreciate having open packages like that. Like I could sit here and talk about the Power Rangers Lightning collection all day, although that would be pointless because that's done
Hasbro?
now. Yeah. So yeah, Black Series Star Wars figures and all that.
Yeah, those drive me crazy because they started closing them completely.
Who makes these Rebel Moon figures?
They're the Diamond Select Toys.
Oh, Diamond Select. Okay, yeah, that's right. You said that. I don't have many Diamond Select figures.
So many little pieces of packaging here. Whoa, come on.
I've never been a huge action figure.
I have too many action figures.
I like to collect like role playing toys, is what they call them. So I have a lot of like right here. I have a Power Rangers morpher. This is actually
that's
to
cool.
say it's Power Rangers. This is actually Gokaiger. It's the Sentai version, but
so
whatever.
Here's some sort of weapon. I don't know what all of their little. Oh, I think these are the lightsaber type things. So little blades. I think they're Zack Snyder's variation of lightsabers.
I know. I will admit I know basically nothing about Rebel Moon.
I'm going in completely blind.
I have been purposefully avoiding as much information about as possible because working this job we don't really get to like view things with blind like go into things completely blind. So when it comes to like streaming series, unless I'm doing a video on it, I try to not watch anything or read anything so that I can actually go into them, and be surprised by something.
These are really nice. Like the paint job is really nice.
That is really detailed.
Like let me see if I can get it so it's not completely out of focus. Like I'm very impressed.
I mean, it looks pretty in focus on mine.
Extra hands for her so you can swap out her hands if you don't want
have the permanent holding hands in place.
And I like that there's two so that you can switch it up so she can be holding like one blade and then
does she have like details under her eyes?
Yeah. She has let me see if you can get it. We do like
that is
like it's really highly detailed. Very impressive.
I'm impressed.
I don't think I'm going to try
to like putting in work.
I don't think I'm going to try to open up Jimmy. Simply because that was a lot of packaging to get through.
Yeah.
Which is good, which means the figures come to you in like really good condition. The boxes, are sturdy.
There's going to be posts on social and stuff showing all the figures.
And you can store her blades inside of these little.
Now,
very nice.
Like, I gotta ask, as far as like the quality of the figures, is this something that because you collect,
I have so many action figures.
How does this stack up against like some other pieces in your collection?
I would say these are, considering they're fully articulated.
Oh, even her waist moves?
Knees move, clothing moves. I would say that they are possibly Better than some of the stuff that Hasbro's been putting out here lately.
It's kind of a low bar.
I mean, that is a very low bar, but that is like my bar for like action
Yeah.
figures because like these are the
Hasbro's the biggest producer, so.
Do you remember the Lord of the Rings action figures that came out with the movies that were
Yes,
like
I still have
highly
some that I
detailed,
retain.
highly articulated? You could shoot bows with them. This is what that reminds me of. So that
No.
is very high. A very high bar has been
Do
set.
we know what the MSRP is going to be on them? That's a big question.
I,
Probably not. If
yes.
it's a preview thing, we might not know the numbers. But
Yeah.
those are really cool looking. But here's the thing. Now that we've shown off the Rebel Moon stuff,
Yeah.
I am a little curious to I want to get like I want you to show off a little bit of your personal collection outside of the Rebel Moon stuff. Is there any figure, maybe one that is like close nearby you, that you particularly enjoy or that you are a particular fan of?
She also comes
If
with
you
a hat.
have to get up. That hat looks ridiculous.
It looks really funny. Hang on.
I know that you have like shelves to your left and right, so I assume that there's got to be something on there. Of course, you have a Kylo.
So I actually got him secondhand from a store, so he doesn't have any of his stuff that came with him. But he is a highly articulated figure that I'm quite fond of, and it comes with a base, which you always
Now,
appreciate.
is that Black Series?
No. Yes.
Hmm.
I got it for $6 at a used bookstore. But it weighs a lot. It weighs like a solid maybe 2.5 pounds. Like it's a sturdy figure. I mean, obviously he's a very tall boy.
Yeah.
But it looks,
That's
like pretty good.
It looks like Adam Driver put on some weight, but it's recognizable as Adam Driver.
Yeah. Like it looks like a younger Adam Driver. But yeah, no, this was probably one of my favorite figures. So I have a lot. I have a lot of vintage figures as well because I went through a bout of collecting Star Wars prequel series stuff. So I have a lot of those, but those are out of reach.
Well, as I said, I'm not much of an action figure collector. I'm much more of like role play stuff. But I do have. This is from my childhood. I wanted to show this. This is a Predator. I got him one year for Christmas. It was a dual pack. It was a Predator and an Alien, and it came with an Alien versus Predator comic book. I don't have the Alien anymore, which is a bummer because I love Predator, but I'm actually much more of an Alien fan. But I don't have any of his accessories. I don't have his mask. I don't have anything like that. But I got this. I think I was like 10 when I got this, and I still have this. It sits on my desk.
It's very cool.
So I've been a colossal nerd from the get-go. But the one big one that I have to show that you will appreciate.
I like that this has become show and tell.
Hell yeah. We don't get to do that very often.
Oh,
this is a model Enterprise D. It is actually like a model from whatever the name of that BST or something like that model company. This was made by my dad. I think this was like 97, I think.
Very nice.
It's a little bit worse for wear. The saucer section is starting to it's going into the separation sequence a little bit prematurely. It's not a bug, it's a feature. But the nacelles are also starting to separate with the pylons right there. I have to do some gluing. This model though is so old nowadays. When you buy models of the Enterprises, it comes with sticker packs that have all of the windows and stuff. But to my dad's credit, maybe he's insane, every single one of those windows and like the escape pods are all hand painted.
That's insanely impressive.
I don't know what my dad was smoking when he decided that was a good idea.
Well, it was the 90s, so probably nothing good.
Probably nothing good. I think here's the thing. My dad isn't even like a Star Trek fan. He built this for me and my brother, like specifically. And so he put in that much effort for something for my brother and I. And when my brother moved out we had two Enterprises. We had the Enterprise, the original series, and then we had this Enterprise D. And Paul took the original series, and I took the Galaxy class Enterprise D. I don't know if my brother actually even still has the uh,
Only
original
one of you
series
has remained a
Enterprise,
true nerd.
but it's funny. This isn't even my favorite Enterprise. So, what is your favorite Enterprise?
Next generation, I think.
So you like the Galaxy class, the
Yeah.
D? I do like I do like the Galaxy class, but I'm an Enterprise E kind of guy. I like the Sovereign class.
If we're talking ships in general, I'm a Voyager girl. But
You know my opinions on Voyager.
yeah, and that is something for another day.
It's a fine series. I just
Because we're already 40 minutes into this.
Oh, we are 40 minutes in. Oh, we should go. Uh
But credit to the chat who has been with us this entire time while
yeah,
I'm
you guys
sitting here
have actually been going
very
pretty good.
active. While I'm sitting
Jeremy,
here playing here.
you got to get your action figures out of storage, man. Got to get them up on shelves.
Yeah.
That's
Hit
where they belong.
IKEA after Christmas and get yourself some fancy shelves. That's what I did.
They're doing nobody any good in storage.
Yeah.
But anyways, that figure looks so awesome.
I can't wait to get it.
But we should wrap things up because it has been over 40 minutes. So that has been our show today. If you have any action figures that you want to show off, or any collectibles in general that you want to show off, you can hit us up on social media. I'm Bender Waffles. She's Maggie. You saw our tags at the beginning of the show. Uh, get over there, share them with us. I'd love to see them. Uh, Maggie, do you have anything that you any upcoming fun stuff that you want to talk about?
I do. I have an interview with the Prodigy showrunners dropping this week for Prodigy launching onto Netflix on Christmas Day. We have a couple breakouts that dropped today, so check out collider.com to get the latest scoop on Star Trek Prodigy and watch it when it comes out on Christmas Day. It's season 1. It'll be all in totality. Binge it so that we continue getting more Star Trek Prodigy because I am not ready to let go of those kids. Like, I need
I
to
still
see
need to watch that
7
show.
seasons.
So
It is so good. Well, you'll be able to watch it on
now that
Christmas
it's
Day.
am I gonna have to resub to Netflix?
Yes. And I will make this a running bit to ensure that you do.
Anyways, so yeah, go check those out, collider.com. We will be back tomorrow. I believe it's you and Perry, correct?
I believe so.
Is that the schedule?
I believe so.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So you'll see me on Wednesday. But until I see you, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll catch you next time.